This is Screendivers. In this week's episode, we are talking about 1983, The Outsiders. This movie is directed by Francis Ford Coppola, based on a screenplay by Kathleen Knudsen Howell, and The Outsiders, written by S.E. Hinton. This movie is produced by Fred Roos and Gray Fredrickson, and starring C. Thomas Howell, Matt Dillon, Ralph Macchio, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, Diane Lane, Emilio Estevez, Tom Cruise, and Leif Garrett. Cinematography by Stephen H. Burham, edited by Ann Gorson, music by Carmine Coppola, and produced by the Zoetrope Studios Company. This movie was distributed by Warner Brothers. It has a theatrical running time of 91 minutes and a director's cut that runs for 114 minutes. This movie was made for an alleged budget of $10 million and it raked $25.8 million. How are you guys?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, man. How are you, Steve?
I'm good. I was glad to sit down and watch this movie with you yesterday.
Nice one, nice one. We're going to talk about that. But today, we are joined by a very special guest. Welcome, Sir Dave. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back, guys.
Thanks for joining us, man. Thank you for joining us. Originally, you were meant to join us for a movie you selected, Code of Silence.
Yes, that didn't work out. Unfortunately, we had to change things at the last second, and you guys were stuck watching it.
But we did enjoy it, and thank you for the recommendation. Now I don't know if this episode will come out before or after Code of Silence, but we'll see how that goes, I guess.
We'll see, yeah. But I'm glad you guys had fun with it.
There you go. But hey, before we dive into anything else, a quintessential question must be asked. Ricky, what is this movie about?
In the 1960s, the town of Tulsa, Oklahoma is in the midst of a change, in the midst of an environmental and economical change. It is a shame that the economics have not hit this side of America as it has done on the west or the east coast. We follow a gang of greasers who are constantly in trouble with a gang called the Soch. And what they end up being in is in a fight that defines the rest of their lives.
That's pretty much what this movie is about. It's a Greek tragedy. It's a Greek tragedy. Man, so much star power in this movie. So much star power in this movie.
Insane.
Before we continue, it's essential that you guys know a thing. And that thing is the fact that myself and Steve never watched this movie before. That was our first watch last night.
Yeah.
Whoa.
We watched the director's cut, which obviously, if any of you guys have already seen The Outsiders and the original cut, it would be really nice to hear what the major kind of changes are. I've seen some interviews on this morning, doing the research and stuff like that. But wow, I mean, 30 minutes of this movie were cut.
Almost, yeah.
Well, the theatrical cut almost had no Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe was almost missing from this film, from the original theatrical cut, because there was a lot of areas with test audiences that didn't quite hit the nail on the head, and the studios got very shirty with Francis, saying it's too long, we're not going to release it at this length. And so him removing like little scenes made him go, if I remove that, I have to remove this, I have to remove that, and so ended up cutting about half an hour out of the film due to that.
Well, I sent you a message yesterday, Ricky, while we were watching this. We were in a back and forth and, silly jokes about how I perceive this movie as being extremely homoerotic, but we're going to talk about that as well. And I don't know if that was the intention. It came out in 1983 in the midst of the AIDS epidemic as well. I don't know if it was targeting a group or not, because the novel is not about that at all. And I couldn't help but picking up on this all the way through the movie. Myself and Steve had the same reaction to it.
It felt a little bit close. Let's just say that in some
but
scenes.
that's not a bad thing at all. Yeah, it's not a bad thing at all. Apparently, it was embraced by the gay community as well. So it became something that it's, made a mark, so there's no negative connotation whatsoever. But because there's minors involved in this movie, I think that, most of the cast, not all of them, but at least Ralph Howell was Ralph Macchio.
He was actually one of the older ones.
Was he?
Yeah,
Really?
he was about 20 when they filmed this.
Yeah.
So wait a second. So, because he did Karate Kid a year later.
Yep.
Was he
So
like
he's
21 in that movie?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
C. Thomas Howell was 15 doing this movie.
Yeah, so he was one of the youngest members.
Yeah,
right.
Rob Lowe was around 18. Matt Dillon was around 19.
Rob Lowe was 18?
He was 18. Patrick Swayze was 29.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was the same age as Emilio, and they were about 17.
Okay.
So Ralph and Leif Garrett were on the older side, and both of them being around 20.
Last night as well, we were having this back and forth until it wasn't funny anymore. Like I actually got Ricky to go, stop.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. Break it down.
Stop it. But, and I did stop. But there was a thing that hit me while we were watching it. And first of all, I started questioning why Thomas Howell's career is not as big as it should be. But then I checked his IMDb. He's working. He's super prolific as well. I'm not that familiar with the stuff that he's in, but he's working regularly. He's got like a great body of work, not just television. And even if it was just television, it's television at its peak again. So, but he looks, at that age, he looks like the spitting image of somebody that I'm not familiar with, but someone who's in everybody's zeitgeist now. And he's a pop star. What's his name, Ricky?
Harry Styles.
Harry Styles, man, like Dave, open up a tab.
No.
I know Harry Styles. I have his face tattooed right here.
Well, he's got a teenage boy. He's got a teenage boy, so of course he's familiar with Harry Styles.
You were on the X Factor in 2010, which is like 3 Simon Cowell faces ago. Back then, no, you can't laugh at that. I'm allowed to, you're not. You were a little cheeky chappy with the jaunty bow tie, the mop on his head. Back then, I think if you told people that you were going to be writing these critically acclaimed albums, some people might be surprised. How cool is it that your solo stuff is being taken so seriously?
Did you not take me seriously, Jack?
No, I've always taken you up all night. That is my Sgt. Pepper, my friend.
But the idea is that if you type in Thomas Howell and Harry Styles, there's like a barrage of posts with people making this comparison. So it's not just us. They're spitting image of one another.
Actually, Harry Styles now is sporting quite a manly beard, which is hilarious because when this first got released, a complete novel collection or the complete novel edition, whatever. That's how he looked as well.
Just say manly beard. That's manly is the last adjective I would place next to Harry Styles' name.
It covers up his boyish looks, so it's manly enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Everyone says that. Well, look, it's better than whatever the hell Johnny Depp's got going on at the moment with his like weedy, tash thing.
Speaking of aging gracefully, what the fuck, man? Nobody put their hand up there. Anyway, Dave, you were going to say something.
Nope, I didn't have
But talking about people who have aged or changed or look differently, in this viewing, I kind of thought to myself, Matt Dillon has not changed a single iota.
It's spooky.
He acts the same way. He talks the same way. He holds himself the same way. He looks okay. He does have wrinkles and he is getting more of the jowls, but still, he's pretty much the same.
Some guys my age, man, they forget about drinking milk. I don't know why. Maybe they forget how good milk is. Milk's great. It's natural. It's satisfying. I like it when it's ice cold. You just can't beat it. So don't you forget it. I'm drinking milk for good.
During watching this movie, Umba was sending his feet pics to Freaking Ricky. So
I'll admit, I started it off. I didn't realize my foot was in the image, and it did trigger something amongst us.
You're gonna have to ask for Sally's permission because we put photos in the so-called show notes, which are the comments on our Facebook page. What am I talking about, dear listeners? If you're not familiar with it, and if you want to go home with a bag full of factoids, sex aids from the future, you need to go to our social media. Go to Facebook, look for the episode you just listened to, and go to the comments. There's a treasure trove of stuff in there. And you will find a picture of Ricky's feet next time. So,
sorry, not just mine, thank you.
No. It will be a Foodorama. In fact, I need some, Dave, I need a picture of your feet. I didn't say, well, man, you missed the last episode. You got to fucking pay the troll, all right? All right.
Well, now look. Let's. So it was your guys' first viewing, Dave. What is your history with The Outsiders?
Have you guys read the novel?
No,
but, and this is essential. Apparently, Anna kept going and banging on about the fact that she had to read it in school.
Yes.
It was 7 years, which is middle school, the first year of middle school in Norway. It was mandatory. She had to read it.
I was curious because in the States, I think about 95% of all schools here will get you to read this book in junior high. Mm-hmm. And I know I had to read it, but I never saw the film until 2019.
You're joking.
So no, I never watched
it as well.
Yeah, it was just I had a huge blind spot of Coppola in the first half of the 80s and then I went in, Criterion did like a collection of them, and I filled the gaps back in 2019 where I
you filled the void with another box set.
I did. I watched One from the Heart. I watched Outsiders, Rumblefish, and then Cotton Club. So it's like I filled this big gap. And that's when I watched it. But it was the theatrical cut then. It was not the... he had not done his director's cut. So in 2019, I saw the theatrical cut.
You just mentioned Rumblefish, and I never realized that that's one of my favorites, by the way, and by Coppola. Yeah. And it's funny, that's what we're here today, but we're going to talk about how inconsistent Coppola's body of work is. It's crazy. I don't know. Out of Zoetrope, he's actually the worst when it comes down to his consistency. Not the worst as in, but the level of consistency in his work is I don't understand. And also, it seems to me that without a good editor, he has nothing. That's the problem. You mentioned Rumblefish. I didn't realize that Rumblefish and this movie were released in the same year, 83. Both of them.
It's the same author.
Same year, same author, and of course,
weird.
Matt Dillon.
Is it like a spiritual? Was it released after The Outsiders or before?
It was released after.
It was released after, but she wrote The Outsiders first when she was 16, right. And then Rumblefish she wrote later.
Okay.
There's an interesting fact as well. She's actually in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What does she play?
She plays a nurse. So she plays a nurse. Do you when Ralph Macchio's parent comes through the door?
Oh, yeah.
The nurse which holds her back.
Oh, wow.
That's the actual writer.
Okay.
And so she was on set for the whole filming. And she was actually there for the whole... whatever it was, 5 or 10 weeks they had beforehand, where Francis Ford actually filmed everything on early video cameras and edited it in his little VW that he had made up as editing studio. And so there is actually, I've got footage of all the crappy green screen effects that he put on it just to be like, no, this is where I want it. And it's so funny seeing them react the whole film, but on really bad public access green screen effects.
Now, there's a lot of matte paintings in this, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. There's a lot of split diopter done so well that it looks like superimposed, to the point in which there was a moment in which Steve went, no, dude, that's split diopter. But it does, at times this movie is beautiful, and at times it kept taking me out, man. Either because I was either examining the homoerotic, fake, I know that I'm struggling to accept that this was done, that it's just a coincidence. I can't take that. I'm not digesting that because it's such a heavy theme throughout. And I'm wondering if it was done purposely to ground the movie in what America was going through socially in 1983. Like we mentioned, it was like in the midst of the AIDS scare, and how, you know, you had an entire administration basically encapsulating this disease in a group, which is insane by modern standards. If you have to look back and gaze at it, it's insane propaganda. We lived through it, but it's crazy. However, I'm wondering if it was a way for the current generation to relate to an outsider. Basically, I don't know. I'm finding it difficult, man.
Look, I mean, I am here to basically say the whole point of art is that art lives on beyond its creators. Art lives on beyond the zeitgeist it was created in or what it's trying to say. I am more than happy for this film to be adopted as a statement for those groups who are marginalized, because this is about marginalization. But I'm here to say that both the author and the director...
No, forget the author, Coppola. Because the author,
I'm saying both of them. No. I'm saying both the author and the director have no stakes whatsoever of this being that way coded. The coding that they were both pushing for, which is why the theatrical release was cut the way it was, because test audiences were snickering or like weren't taking the film seriously because of said scenes. He had to cut those scenes out, which then meant that, as I said, Rob Lowe disappeared from the film. And Patrick Swayze was just an abusive older brother. That, you know, when you see the theatrical cut, there is like no love really between Patrick Swayze and Ponyboy. And the name Pony, I'll go into that later on. But the point is that the whole film is about trauma. That's all the film is about. The film is about joint trauma and bonding over trauma, to an extent that even them having their rumble in the park is just about collective trauma, and how that connection with other people was severely broken at either a very infantile stage, like with Johnny being beaten the shit out of constantly from his family, or a very sudden trauma like Ponyboy and his family, you know, them losing their parents in a very sudden accident, which I assume involves a train hitting a car, but who knows? Because
that's the nightmare sequence, right?
Yeah. Personally, like to call one of your kids Soda Pop and one of your kids Ponyboy and write it on a birth certificate, I think there was more than just a train being hit by a car. Anyway, but the whole point is that this film, this is from me sitting down, reading Coppola's notes, going through commentaries and whatnot. Not all of this was just meant to be, they're so poor they share a bed, they're so poor that they have no standing in life, they're so poor that, you know, they're happy to sleep outside rather than sleep within their home, and they're so traumatized that this is why they're so connected together. And that, again, if this film is adopted by different communities for different reasons, that's fine. It's, you know, it's what you read in art. You know, I'm never going to say people who love the Wizard of Oz cannot put queer coding into it. How dare you? Because it doesn't matter. It's art. It lives on and it goes on. And look, it made Wicked, and so everybody, you know, it's all good.
Yeah, I was talking more about something that, from a visual standpoint, is inescapable. Like, you can put anyone in front of this movie, regardless of what the original intention was, and they will veer in that direction at one point or another. You just will, because of the way the movie's shot. But anyway, there is a sequence in this movie that actually kept me interested, and it happens in the second act, and it made the movie for me because I was ready to quit on it. There's something about it, not because there's a lot of star power. At times the movie's beautiful, whatever, but I don't even think that it's the editing. I think this one would have been a nightmare in the editing suite. This one would have been a very difficult movie to edit, theatrical or director's cut. It just feels like it was. However, there is a sequence that saved the movie for me, as a couple, But one of them in particular is there's a moment of common ground. There's a moment of like a truce moment in the movie, and it's the meeting between Ponyboy and Randy
one of the socials in the car.
Yeah, that's a really good scene.
It is a beautiful scene, and it made me look back. Like there was a moment of nostalgia. In fact, when me and Ricky was sharing messages, I was speaking for Steve as well, and that was, this is the way we grew up as a Gen X. There was this incredible desire to belong. So, and that belonging, led to some kind of tribalism, that is akin to what you see in this movie. Like we, in the 90s or whatever, you had the grunge kids and you had the kids listening to techno, and there was a rivalry. Even if, we were instant enemies and we had to belong to different groups, and these like physical clashes. So that stuff, it's like, as much as I don't miss it, there were times in which, I started thinking, oh, fuck, am I going to get home? Like go back into the mind of a teenager going, am I going to be safe getting home, and look over your shoulder? I had to do that. Steve had to do that. Dave, I assume that you've gone through a phase like that as well, in which as a teenager, you shouldn't have this constant sense of danger from someone you know. You know what I mean? Like it's bizarre. It's a bizarre. If you were to describe this scenario to kids today, they're strange to it. They've got a different battles to fight. Like if anything, actually, they don't even get to belong to anything. So I like to think that as much as it was violent and dangerous, it was still a better way to grow up. There's a sense of youth there. I don't know, we were lucky, we caught the last wave of it or whatever. But that sequence is beautiful.
Doesn't matter if you whip us, you'll still be where you were before, at the bottom. And we'll still be the lucky ones at the top with all the breaks. Doesn't matter. Greasers will still be greasers and socials will still be socials. It doesn't matter. Well, anyway, thanks, Grease. Hey, I didn't mean that. I meant thanks, kid.
And also, I wonder if it was like taken out of the theatrical cut. The sequence where they save the kids from the church, the burning church. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's a set piece because you need that in order to place Johnny in the hospital. Yeah, because he needs to get burned, right? Mm. But there's a moment in which it was fable-like. It kind of left a memory burn. There's a transitional sequence in which they enter the church through like a wooden window, some kind, and it looked like, what the fuck is this? And then those flames all of a sudden is like, the movie gets touches surreal territory, dude. It reminded me a little bit of Night of the Hunter in some of it, like it's bizarre. And all of a sudden you are in the 60s. In the filmmaking of the 60s, but then it adopted another style again, and so it doesn't help it. As much as like the most beautiful sequences of this movie are rooted within a different era of filmmaking, it doesn't help the fucking movie. It fucks with its identity even more.
I mean, one of the things that I noticed in this rewatch for me was just, it's kind of just how claustrophobic a lot of the framing is in this film. Yeah. Where it's like, it's so stuffed with trying to get all of these cast members and all of the
it's trying to heap intimacy, right? In every shot.
I mean, it's like he's just trying to. I mean, you watch that scene where they're at the drive-in, and it's like you have 6 people all in a row, all kind of talking and looking at each other, and you're trying to watch all of them at once. And once they have incident with where the socials get killed, and then they get off on the train and escape into the abandoned barn. It's like all of a sudden it's like we can breathe because we have just these 2 characters, and it doesn't feel as much of a pressure cooker as it did before.
But then he kind of like he then uses the diopter lens and then crushes everything back in again.
Of course.
But my history with this film is I'm a huge Coppola fan because of Apocalypse Now. If you ask me my 3 top Coppola movies, it's Apocalypse Now, it's Rumblefish, and surprisingly, Tetro, of all films. After watching Rumblefish at a pretty young age, I was like, oh man, another gang film. Oh, I'll go watch The Outsiders. And it must have been around the time that he was releasing his new cut, because I must have seen that cut first. I was like, yep, there's a huge cut on his neck and whatnot. And I just found that when I was talking to people, some people would say like, oh yeah, but it's a little bit disjointed, or it jumps a lot of places and you're kind of missing bits of the storyline from the novel. And I was like, I don't remember missing bits of the storyline. So I must have watched the director's cut or the complete novel or whatever he called it first. But what I found interesting about this film, especially when comparing it to Rumblefish and it being so close to Rumblefish, is that like not a single one of the characters are just kind of sprinkled in there. Then every character is very well developed. And that's also another reason why I love Rumblefish so much, is that even some of the background characters in Rumblefish are, you learn so much about them within 10 minutes. And there's one, the only character in this that I always, every time I watch it, I'm always like, why did you hire Tom Waits to do a cameo? Is his character, because it's a blink and you miss it, and yet his name appears so boldly at the start of the film. And again, it's that whole cramming in, like, oh, Tom Waits said he'll do a role. Yeah, go on, let's put his name on it. Right, we'll get more people in to watch the film in the cinemas. It'll be great. And he literally opens a door and he goes, are you looking? Or like, what'd you do here?
Where you boys going?
For Dillon. We gotta see Dillon.
He's busy.
Yeah, it is a Coppola thing where, if he's got the resources. And I do wonder that this was a point in his career where really he could do no wrong. He had so many hits, he had so many lows, like, Apocalypse Now is still like in the red supposedly, even after all of the multiple releases of Apocalypse Now. But he was still at a point where he could go, yeah, I need 10 million for a film and I'm going to take a whole crew of people and I'm going to just hang out with them for a couple of months. And there's something else on the documentaries I was watching where every Friday is wine and fine food night. So you think to yourself, how much money is he just throwing at this picture, just throwing at it and just hoping to God that by the end of it, he still has enough money to make his next film that he's probably already thinking about way in the future.
Ricky, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to disagree with you that Coppola had like a blank check here, because at this point he just done One from the Heart and released that and tanked it.
Yeah,
and that's the movie that killed Zoetrope, essentially. I mean, that was this incredibly expensive, endless shoot designed to kind of. And have you guys seen One from the Heart?
I tried to watch it.
No, I tried to watch it too.
Yeah. I mean, it's this beautiful. I guess there are some people out there that really love the film, but it's like it's really beautiful, but it's also just it's meandering and self-indulgent and incredibly expensive. And there's some beautiful stuff in there, but it's also
who wasn't the cast?
That was Raul Julia and Terry Garr and I'm trying to remember who else.
I remember this movie. I remember this movie now.
But the whole thing was shot on sound stages that were Frederick Forrest. That's it. And the whole thing was shot on sound stages that were designed to sell his new Zoetrope studio. And the film tanked, and then he wasn't able to get really Zoetrope really going. And then The Outsiders became a way where he was able to, take a few million, go to Tulsa, shoot it on location, get away from the studio system in Hollywood, and have a little bit of just elbow room to kind of just craft this small film,
which led to Rumblefish. Yeah. And the story behind how this film got made.
Was one of his kids reading it or something?
No. It was an entire school. So an English teacher, basically, there was a petition sent as part of a letter to Francis Ford Coppola to make this movie.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was signed by 100 students. he basically, this movie was done on quite a cheap budget in comparison, because it was not effects, it wasn't anything driven. It was just a basic movie to try and get him out of the red.
Well,
but he felt like he could do it.
Well, we're still talking about Coppola here. He still burnt down a church.
Yeah,
of course.
It was a wooden church.
We're still talking about the man who, I don't know where he got the money for the van. And seeing this van, this VW van, where he's literally sat in there, he has a telephone line. He has a telephone line in the van in the 80s, which, and it's a rotary phone and all that stuff. So Umba loves it. But it has like 6 screens in there, and he's got videotapes going. And I just kept thinking...
that's his setup from One from the Heart.
There we go. So he kept that van.
Because he directed that film in like a refrigerator box, like a refrigerated box away from the actors on set, because he didn't want the actors to be, feel interference from them. So he would, go off to Video Village. He was one of the first adopters of this Video Village kind of style of directing, where he would go off and watch everything on monitors and then, provide notes. But imagine he grabbed that setup from his previous film and brought that to The Outsiders.
Okay, so that makes more sense to me. So he had already invested the money into that van before, because that van was, it's ludicrous. I am going to suggest that, as Umba says, we don't do show notes, but if you go to Facebook and go to our Screendivers and you find this episode, there will be a whole load of factoids on the bottom of this episode. I'm trying to bring back a certain actor, but he's
you will have to wade through a sea of man's feet. Now, first I'll have to go through every single picture of feet that I would put in there.
Are you going to go through the cast of this? Are you going to go through the cast of this?
No. We're going to do that. Yes, we're going to do that. Yes, that's what we're doing. What's the name of the site again?
Isn't it Feet? No, it's not Feet Finder, because that's actually like
Feet Finder. Isn't it?
Is it Feet Finder?
I think
so. Or is it Rate My Feet? I can't remember. I've
Rate My
forgotten
Feet
now.
is Rate My Feet. Yes. Look at Dave, man. I gotta take a screenshot. Someone take a screenshot of Dave. What am I doing with my life?
So anyway, the shit.
6 o'clock in the morning, he's talking to a dude with a weird accent and a Welsh guy, an Indian guy lives in Australia. They're all talking about feet. What the fuck?
Why did this happen to me?
That's all right, man.
So, we haven't really talked about the story points of this film, but I kind of feel like if you've grown up in America at a certain time, it's a coming of age film. It's, akin to Stand By Me. It's akin to a lot of these other great
you just said it. We were talking about Stand By Me, right? Is that 86? And
that's 86.
Because we kept thinking about, there's a very, very different styles. These felt like Stand By Me morphed with or fused with West Side Story for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, totally.
Also, Diane Lane's character, right? She plays, is it Cherry?
Yep.
Cherry?
Yeah.
Is there any way that our author brought herself into a novel and that was her vessel?
Probably.
Yeah,
because she grew up in that area. So it was a story about her town.
Yeah, because there's one defined female protagonist in this movie, and it's Cherry. But she's very much of an observer, and she's just curiosity behind their character, right? When she meets Ponyboy, their entire exchange, she's leading with friendship, and it's genuine, as in, oh, you seem nice, I'm curious about your world. That's what I got from it. I mean, Diane Lane is perfect for that role, by the way. She was perfect. Yeah. She was older, right? Much older.
No.
She must have been like 22. No. How old was she?
No. She was
16?
Yeah, she was pretty young.
Yeah.
Tell me when you want to talk about Patrick Swayze acrobatic prowess, because we fucking stood up like it's the Olympics. Myself and Steve going, holy shit, man, we need to watch Point Break again. It's the bit when he vaults over the they live in the house, you know. And again, this felt very much like West Side Story, as in they're walking down the street, they live in the house, he's doing this pole vaulting thing, and then Tom Cruise is like, watch me, I can do fucking cartwheels as well. In a few years, I'll prove that I'm a man also. Spend 20 years
I
trying
don't
to do
get
that.
to run.
I'll get my teeth knocked in and get them changed. Yeah.
Dude, that's the thing. It's like, that's the first thing he got fixed, right? Did he do his nose as well a little bit?
In this film, he had to get his teeth fixed because in the Rumble scene, a punch connected, and he had to go his
That's
mouth
a hell
got
of a
busted
story.
open, and he
You
went
think
straight.
that's what happened?
Yeah, that's no. There's a picture of a local dentist with him fixing his teeth.
That's right.
Yeah. So he got his teeth like during the Rumble scene. Somebody connected with him. He busted his mouth out open, and he ended up at a dentist the following day.
Did he get his nose touched as well?
Oh, probably.
I think he did
at some point.
Yeah.
I know he's on he was supposed to have this kind of strict regime. So a friend of mine used to work in a hotel in London. I've heard it on good authority, but he just wants basic plain soap bars. Nothing special, no fancy kind of stuff. It's just like a single white bar of soap.
That's what I use in the shower as well. A bar of soap. That's it. And it's got to be a particular soap. It's Cretan olive oil soap bars. We will take no substitutes. Hey, olive oil. See, it's true. That's why, I look younger, I guess. But
Hey, olive oil.
That's more like it.
in regards to Swayze, we were talking about the gay subtext or whatever. I realized last night, gay for Swayze. Like, really gay for Swayze. He's amazing. His physicality in this movie is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like, for a second, I was like, there's no time in my life and there's no amount of gym or steroids or testosterone or anything I can do, even jumping in a time machine. Genetically, I will never be able to match that form. He's fucking perfect.
It's Swayze. I mean, first of all, Swayze was
body,
trained,
right?
Yeah, dancer's body. Yeah, he was trained as a dancer. He did ballet.
Yeah, but that doesn't justify why we're pieces of shit, dude. Like, it doesn't.
Well,
I think that's genetics. Like, it's just it's his entire persona as well. Because he's not. I'm not gonna say that he's a bad actor, but he's not even that he's wooden. But it doesn't have a massive amount of emotive range. If I'm thinking of Swayze's acting, I mean, we're entering Keanu territory with Swayze. But there's something about his performance is always the same. But let's not go on we don't have to defend Swayze. He's built a career. Like, if he's on screen, you would recognize Swayze, not just because of the way he looks, but it's everything about him. It doesn't disappear in a role, dude. He never did.
I would say Swayze has the same issue that a lot of these leading men actors have, which is he found a niche. And, when you're trying to pay the bills and whatnot, I mean, if you look at somebody like Mark Ruffalo, there was a long time where he was just in movies aimed at romantic comedies or a female audience. But we now know as Mark Ruffalo as, oh, look, he can do other things as well. And I think Patrick Swayze kind of got caught in that box as well. So he went from action movie star.
Swayze is lead material. Ruffalo's, supporting actor material.
Ruffalo can do both.
But anyway, my point
Are
is...
you putting
that
Mark Ruffalo in the same box as
No,
Swayze?
I'm comparing careers because Mark Ruffalo ended up in a lot of romantic comedy films and Swayze went from action hero star to romantic, oh, you were in Dirty Dancing. Oh, we'll put you in this film. We'll put you in Ghost. He went from like one genre to another and kind of got stuck, sort of thing. And then when he started doing indie films, that's when people were like, oh my God, Patrick Swayze can. And, so.
Did you guys watch a series that apparently reached its peak and everyone was talking about it and then he died? The Beast. Do you remember that show? There was
I didn't watch it. No,
it was a cop show. Apparently, it's very good. Maybe in retrospect, we should give it pay it a visit.
No, I was just going to say because obviously I've just seen a movie with Ruffalo, which was I think it's on Prime and it was quite good. Which was one I talked to you about last week. I said you need to watch it. The actual cinematography is.
What was the name of the movie?
That's what I'm trying to fucking remember right now.
You're the architect of your own demise. You brought this up. You fucking, he's not even in this movie.
Up. You were like, I wasn't prepared.
All right. This is fucking cool.
It was.
We're all just going to start guessing Mark Ruffalo.
No, it's nothing to do. Well, actually, there is another Marvel person in there. But hey, come on.
It's a Crime 101.
Crime 101. That's the one.
Well done. Thank you, David Joshua Smith.
Does he? What was the name of the movie?
Crime 101.
Crime 101.
Oh, he's in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the action movie you were talking to me about last week, right?
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. And so David Joshua Smith actually was the one who said it. So
yeah. So the cinematography.
Okay.
The cinematography and it's
back in a second. Dave, have you seen Crime 101? It's the one with Mark Ruffalo. Okay. Yeah, it's a good action movie. Steve told me about it.
It's quite a good one. It's got Mark Ruffalo in it.
It's not an action movie. It's not an action movie.
Is this the one with Mark Ruffalo?
It's the one with Mark Ruffalo. Yeah. He's not playing the Hulk.
Yeah. Did Steve tell you about it as well? Steve tell you about it.
Fuck you.
But some of the things we've been talking about, The Outsiders, I think we're selling it a little bit short here because there was some elements where Umba was saying that, for example, the church burning down. I think what we're forgetting is that actually that's still what they were doing with the church building down is still quite a big feat because they were doing Pepper's Ghost. They were doing the Pepper's Ghost way of filming where they would have a flame going off on one side. They would use like a glass or a mirror to be in front of the camera, and then they'll have the camera shooting forward with the actors in front of it, which I've seen done in a lot of B movies, Roger Corman movies. One that I do remember really vividly was a Grindhouse feature called Don't Go Into the House, where they had a full body burn of a of a woman, where they had to have like two planes of glass with two fires going on, so it looked like it was burning her completely. It was a crazy thing to see on a big screen. But anyway, yeah, it's a very interesting Grindhouse feature, but again, it is just a slasher movie. But you watch that film just for this like 5-second full burn scene, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a really good way of doing it. And that's what the church burning was, how it was done. It was like fake bars coming down, hitting Ralph with a real burning bar on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, so you would have that effect that all the children were stuck in the fire. And I mean,
of course, you get the flame bar in front of the camera to produce the heat, sort of.
Yeah, and how else are you going to do a safe burn like that involving children? Although I also did see a behind the scenes with Francis Ford Coppola scaring the crap out of under 5-year-olds.
Yeah,
scene.
To the point where an actor gets bit by one of the kids. Yep, in that scene. In that one scene, one of the actors, I think it's Ralph, who basically gets his hand bit while trying to get the kid out.
That was for real. Yeah,
that was for real.
But it's actually outside the group of children who all the teachers are like surrounding. The behind the scenes shot that I saw is Francis goes, "It's burning, it's really burning, and all your friends are inside and all this stuff." And this girl breaks down, and he like takes her by the hand and says, "Let's talk about ladybirds." And oh, are you really sad? Oh, and it's just so funny because it's like he can't say, "You are wasting my time, dear. Can you just go away?" He has to be like, "No, let's talk about ladybirds flying away. Let's forget about that. I just screamed at a whole bunch of children for like one effect." I mean, there's stories. The big story from this film is that, when it comes to method acting, Francis treated everybody in their class system. He did this on purpose so that whenever they met each other, there would be already animosity going on.
Did he do the thing that like Landis did on Animal House, where he put the Socs in the nice hotel and then put everybody else in like a flop house?
He did.
So they were in the same hotel, but the Socs were like on the 18th floor, and the Greasers were on the floor.
Imagine any director doing that on set.
Yeah, I know. This is why unions are strong now. And also, technically, a lot of them were, I guess, I don't know, because technically a lot of them were child actors. You know what I mean? Because they're below the age a certain point. So I don't know how he got away with a lot of this stuff. But a good example.
It was the 80s.
Yeah, it was the 80s. But one of the good examples is that on the day they got their scripts, the greasers had them in like plastic folders. They got given okay shoes. They got given jogging pants, if you will, and they got like these T-shirts that said "Greaser" on the back, and then the film's title, and they're like, "Oh, this is lovely, awesome." Then they met up with the Socias, and they had leather-bound scripts. They had like $200 Nikes. They had Letterman jackets. And on a daily basis, they would like have games. On the day that this happened, the greasers beat them at soccer like soundly. They were like, yep, we totally beat them, and we knew we were going to beat them because we had so much hatred in our heart for them. And that was like the period before filming. So Francis, like a madman that he is, decided to like go method without telling the kids that I'm going method. And he even forced them, the house that the brothers all live in, it was a real house. No water, no heat. It was, during early spring, And then again, the brawl scene. Just as the brawl was starting, it rained heavy, and then it stopped. And then he was like, "Oh, let's hire some rain machines now." And so he had them soaking wet at like whatever temperature it was. I think it was like a couple of degrees Celsius, or I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, 30, 35, 36. I don't know. Anyway, he's a madman. He just does this all the time, and he just got away with it, which is probably why his current films are not as good, because he's not allowed to do that anymore. Thoughts?
Has anyone here seen a copy of? Has anyone here? Has anyone seen Megalopolis yet?
I admit I kind of stopped following Coppola's films after I saw You Without Youth, and just kind of I tapped out on that one. It was like, I don't know what the hell's going on in this film, and I haven't watched anything that he's done since then.
It is heartbreaking because we're still talking about Coppola, and the problem is it's I said this to Steve yesterday. I said this is a case of someone peaking way too early in their career, and I think that's when you become a victim of your own work, almost. That's the way I perceive it. We're gonna compare everything he's done to Godfather Part 2. It's different, man. I rewatched Dracula recently. I can't fucking take the movie seriously, man. I really can't. And again, it's a difficult movie for me to watch now. It aged the same way Natural Born Killers aged.
Coppola's just he's I think at his heart he's an experimental filmmaker, and I think when he's when he's working with massive studio budgets, he's kind of forced to make a narrative that makes more sense. So he was doing these big studio projects, and then when he wound up underwater with Zoetrope, then he was kind of a work for hire, and he was doing stuff like Jack and The Rainmaker and Dracula that is in order just to pay the bills. And then once he was clear of that, he could make his wine and do his experimental filmmaking to his heart's content. And I think that's what we've seen for the last 20 years.
I just love you mentioned Jack, because I mentioned Jack as well. Yes. I was just sort of like, yeah, man. And why don't we talk about Jack anymore?
Even when that film came out, we didn't talk about Jack.
Jack Powell is a grown-up on the outside.
Why ain't he in school?
But on the inside,
Marco!
Polo, he's all boy.
Gotcha! Don't touch me!
Jack. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Is there, like in Tropic Thunder, as a simple. What's the name of the
Simple
movie?
Jack. It's Simple
Simple
Jack.
Jack.
Simple
Taking the
Jack.
piss
Simple
out of
Jack.
Jack.
Yeah.
Well,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
but it's also I was talking about Tropic Thunder today, and it's just taking the mick out of the fact that every so often, well, actually every year, there's always a movie that tries to get an Oscar nomination or depicting somebody who is either neurodiverse or who has lots of intellectual incapabilities of some sort, trying to bid for an Oscar.
Train I ride, 16 coaches long. Train I ride, 16 coaches long. Well, that long black train got my baby and gone.
Guys, I don't know. This one's a difficult one, and I think we're really entering, unless you guys have a big factoid to drop on the table.
Ready, set, factoids, go.
Big issue I have with this film, and it is Johnny's letter at the end. And it's not to do with Johnny's letter. It's not to do with the delivery. It's to do with the composition of where Johnny is, where Ponyboy is, and where Matt Dillon keeps like flashing up on the odd occasion. And then right at the end, Ralph's face comes to attack you.
Well, a moment where I saw the store clerk, obviously there's that section with a gun, and I knew I'd seen him in something, and he played Conan's father.
Really?
Yeah.
What a deep cut, mate.
William Smith.
At the drive-in, the girl that's next to Diane Lane, she's the lead actress from Real Genius, the one that...
You're joking.
Yeah.
Michelle Meyrink?
That's it, yes.
Yeah. And we didn't get enough Tom Waits in this, man. We really did not get it, because he was coming off or going into one of my favorite Jarmusch pictures ever, which is Down by Law.
Down by Law. Oh, that's a great one.
That entire... We're going to do that on the show.
Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers is in the fight scene.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers is in the fight scene.
Man.
He's playing a soak.
You're not doing this movie any favors.
Oh, I know.
Sofia Coppola's in this. She's the little girl.
Yeah, Domino. Technically, the 10 cents.
The sequence in the hospital with the guy going, "You shouldn't be smoking." Like that exchange.
That was I enjoyed that.
That was
I really
great.
enjoyed,
Yeah,
I enjoyed that more than his brothers forgiving him, which was like the next beat. What I always find funny with Francis Ford Coppola, and I always will do, is the need for him to revisit his own work and go, I could have done better.
Dementia 13 has two different cuts. Godfather 1 and 2, he both shapes into a chronological order for a TV cut. Apocalypse Now he has three different cuts. One from the Heart has two different cuts. Outsiders, he has two different cuts. Cotton Club, I only found two different cuts. I could swear there's a third one in there too. Godfather 3 has three different cuts.
Thank God for that. Because I rediscovered that and appreciated it on the last cut, the Coda.
Yeah, it has the theatrical cut, and then there was the home video cut, and then there's the Coda cut.
Yeah.
And now Twixt has two different cuts, and now Megalopolis, he is still, he's doing another cut of that right now.
So his granddaughter said to him, we've just done the novel. And I know you made the film, Grandpapa, whatever she calls him. Can you come to my school and present the film? And, then we can have a big discussion about it. And he was so aware that what he was about to present already been in the public zeitgeist a lot. They got letters for 23 years being like, so why didn't you do this scene? Why isn't this scene in this movie? Why isn't it? That he felt so embarrassed about it that he recut it to take to his granddaughter's high school, and he said, here you go. Look, I include all the elements of the novel.
Oh my God.
I think we're entering ratings territory soon.
Right, so in scoring this film, I am giving this one a 7.3. This has a very strange, special place in my heart amongst the Coppola films. Some of the reasons are just because also I'm a bit of a Gone with the Wind fan. So having a lot of the symmetry and a lot of the discussion points that the boys are having, I find very endearing because it is, as I said earlier on in the show, a very trauma-based film and a very trauma-based storyline. There is something also about the fact that nobody is in really a better situation than the others. So even with the Soch, even though they're financially in a better position, you can imagine that their lives are full of neglect. So, for example, they might be latchkey kids. So even though they've got the cars and whatever, do they have even a conversation with their parents? Probably not, because they're working to get the money. Remember, Tulsa at this period of time, just before the Vietnam War, was also not as affluent as the East Side or the West Side. So there's a lot of elements in this that basically shows a town that is completely driven by trauma. There's also some very wonderful shots in this. I'd feel like we didn't really talk about the fountain drowning scene, which has a little bit of the 60s red filter moment, which is,
that's a big split diopter sequence as well.
Having a zoom in on Johnny with the body in the background. There's very powerful moments like that. Yeah. So again, my rating is always, if it's above 5, I'm going to watch it again. I'm definitely going to watch this again. A 7.3 let's say a 7.3 haircuts in the middle of a church.
Nice. Nice.
So mine's a 4.5. The cast is good. I just felt this isn't one of his strongest works. That's pretty much how I see it. Achingly sad, melodramatic in some spots. What am I going to rate it? 4.5 burning churches.
Okay.
For The Outsiders.
Cool. Well done.
I going into the film, I was like, this is probably about a 7 for me. And watching the film again now this was my second viewing, I was kind of shocked at just how much it seemed like Coppola was kind of in his own way with the very, very kind of arched shot compositions. And there's it's cool. But again, I felt like everything was so composed and stylized and it felt like, I don't know, he was trying to do too much. Like you said, with that zoom in with Ralph Macchio that you were talked about at the end, where he's coming at you, where it's like we don't need these
for you, Dave. He's coming for you.
We don't need all of these overlapping dissolves and zoom ins, and so you have this incredible. He captured lightning in the bottle with this cast, which is just, good Lord, it's extraordinary that he caught all this as they're just about to explode. And it's, a very faithful adaptation of the novel, which is exactly what was needed. But it doesn't quite feel rooted in the reality of the time. It feels very stylized. And I think that that kind of works against it, which is why like the quieter scenes, like you mentioned with the car, I think,
shine a little more,
that quiet scene between the two of them, I think it's like this is nice. I like this, as opposed to some of the chaos from before. So I'm giving it 6.5 Rumbles in the Rain.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, well, I give it a 4.5, and I feel bad. I feel dirty. I feel cruel. But who am I? Who are we to judge Mr. Coppola? But it's, it's just an opinion. That's what it is. But it's a 4.5. It's a 4.5 1965 blue convertible / coupe Ford Mustangs. Why? Because I don't know why they had to use two different cars, two different versions of the same car. Because it would suit the shots, but whatever. I am disappointed. I am massively disappointed. I'm wondering if I attempted to watch this before in the past. Probably not. It just went under the radar, and I was glad yesterday. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take one. I'm in for a ride. It's a couple I missed. It's like, what a gift. And then I was introduced into this world of fucking melodrama with, like you said, a very young cast that there's no way in hell that they can inject enough pathos for any of this melodrama not to feel like daytime television. And there's a lot of moments in this that are borderline ridiculous. In fact, the sequence that was taken out and then reintroduced with Mr. Lowe, I like Rob Lowe as an actor. I think, he's very serviceable, but the entire crying sequence is fucking ridiculous. It's I couldn't take it seriously. There's a lot. There were a lot of moments in which, I think the funniest performance here, I think, Ricky, you mentioned it earlier, believe it or not, is by Matt Dillon. Matt Dillon really,
Yeah.
He did very well. He plays the role of an older brother, like someone who's been through hell way too young, and that was believable. That stood out. Another conversation in a car. This movie strives to get as close as possible, like very close, with all of its framing, trying to inject this level of intimacy that doesn't have to be in every sequence. It's like you're forcing us to get close to these characters. Just let the movie tell the story. This movie is an adaptation of a very strong story. Just let it roll on screen. No. Like Coppola here is doing fucking cartwheels. He's literally doing the cartwheel and the pole vaulting that two of our protagonists were doing in this movie. And he does it for the duration of the entire thing. I'm wondering, the director's cut felt already quite long. And when I said I sent a couple of messages to Ricky saying, hey man, maybe I should have watched the theatrical cut because this feels like there's a lot of filler here. But you used the correct word. You said that the theatrical felt truncated and the director's cut feels truncated. So it would have been even worse. I'm sorry to disagree with you, Ricky, on this one. We tend to kind of be on the same wavelength, and I'm not. I know that it's simply my opinion. A lot of people perhaps would have some kind of nostalgic strings of attachment towards this movie. There's a lot of our listeners that are our generation, particularly possibly members of our female audience, that will have a different level of connection to this movie for obvious reasons, because it's full of heartthrobs from that era. I'm sorry, but when it comes down to this, though, that star power was rooted within the male presence that they brought to this. Again, there's a lot of subtext that perhaps wasn't intended or whatever. This movie is a little bit of a disaster, and it's not a beautiful disaster in my book. I will not revisit this movie. However, it is a classic, and I'm glad that, Ricky, you brought it to the table. I mean, it wasn't even...
Yeah, thank you, Ricky.
Thank you. It was a thing that we all had to revisit, and perhaps one day I'll change my mind about it. But yesterday, really, I wasn't in the mood for this one. And on that note, this was Umba.
This is Ricky.
This is Steve.
This was Dave.
Bye.
Bye.
Nobody gave it a 1.
I've got too much information in my head. That's
we're all like that.
Yeah.
Trying
Chris
to think.
Hemsworth is also in it, by the way.
Who's in it?
Chris Hemsworth.
Hemsy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hemsy. So another Marvel connection.
It's Thor Ragnarok Part 2.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
pretty much. And Halle Berry.
I can't. I mean,
it's also got
she
Nick
was in
Nolte in
X-Men. That's as far.
Yeah.
As, I mean,
Well, and Barry Keoghan.
John Wick.
Doesn't really count as Marvel though, like X-Men.
No.
I mean, we could have that debate right now.
Technically, it does now.
It does now, yeah.
and also like it had a paedophile as its director. So we don't really talk about it.
Oh, yeah, we don't talk about that.
Okay, then Catwoman. But I guess
Oh,
that's DC.
that's terrible.
That's DC though.
Oh my God! Don't even get. Oh,
So
why did you bring up that piece of shit?
So, I mean, yeah, this is all connected to the church burning down in The Outsiders. In the
Well, it's all about outsiders. X-Men. Ooh.
Ricky, when we get off, I need to give you a quick call. Right after. I'll show you something.
Okay.
Don't show me his feet again. It's.
I got pictures of Steve's feet. He passed out last night.
It's one of those, is it?